you're not meant to live life alone.
No.
You don't want to have somebody in your life that you can't correct.
The one, the only, a premium babe of excellence, like I said. Respect the culture or shake the table.
Hello, you read, though. Let God be guiding you in training these children, I beg.
They'll call you rebellious. They'll call you the black sheep.
I think it had to do with me figuring out who Adeola is first.
Right.
That came, honestly, when I started to study the Bible more.
Tell me more.
Community is a center of my life, and that I love God because I want that to show in
everything that you do.
That
I think it shows in everything.
I remember when I was much younger, we used to have house fellowships in my house, and my dad would make me teach adults. Wow. Right, so he would just say, Adeola, you're teaching house fellowship today. And I'm just like, sir, I'm only 10. I didn't care what else was happening. I'm just like, my daddy knows. My daddy is okay. My daddy said I should buy ice cream. I'm fine.
As a firstborn daughter, what have you had to unlearn?
This was a lesson, and it was my brother that taught me that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Legacy and Labour. I'm your host, Agnes Yoande, and today I am joined by a premium babe of excellence. She's a senior product manager who has worked in various industries, including fintech, international remittance, and insurtech. Please, a round of applause for the one, the only, a premium babe of excellence, like I said. Adeola Adeyemi. Thank you. Hi, Adeola. Thank you so much for joining me today. I mean, I feel like I'm really excited for this conversation. Like I'm excited to get into your journey, not just as a firstborn, but a trailblazer that's building, that's, forming communities, that is trying to push women empowerment and make like a social impact everywhere you go. But before we get started, I have like a little quick game that I like to play with my guests. There's no need for explanation. This one is a 2-second answer. Don't think too much on it. Yeah, so it's a quick this or that. Okay. So my first one is egusi or eforiro?
Eforiro.
Okay. Corporate baddie or hustle CEO life?
Say that again?
Corporate baddie or hustle CEO life?
Oh, corporate baddie. We don't hustle.
Okay. Lekki house party or Owambe in Ibadan?
Owambe in Ibadan.
Voice notes or text paragraphs? Like, when you're dropping the gist in your group chat, like which one do you like to do?
I actually don't like voice notes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd rather like a group call. Like it's hot, right? So let's get on the call and speak about it.
Okay, so not voice notes or not text paragraphs, a group call.
Yeah, because text, you have to be anticipating what the person is going to say.
Yeah, you have to be waiting for the reply.
Let's be quick.
Okay. All right. So you're a product manager.
Yes.
So would you launch now or perfect it first if you were to build a product?
It depends.
2-second quick answer.
So you need to. I like the idea of launching fast and learning as you launch.
Okay.
Because if you wait, you're searching for perfection that you won't find.
Okay.
You have to launch and then see what people think about it and then continue to iterate.
So my last question is: respect the culture or shake the table?
Ooh, both. Can I take both? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because some things are still valid. And some things need to change. Like some things that our parents or their parents started don't need to be here anymore. Yeah. Where in the world of technology, there's AI and stuff like that. So there are conversations that need to be had.
Yeah, but you're more on the shake the table.
More of, to a certain extent. It just depends on what the topic is.
Okay.
I guess.
So another question I'd like to ask my guests is, what do you want people to learn from you today?
Oh, that's a very good question.
Yeah, no pressure, no pressure.
I think that community is a center of my life, and just every single thing I think I'll be talking about will tie to
community.
Yes. You're not meant to live life alone.
No,
you're not actually designed to. I'll go into a bit of Bible stories. But, when Adam was created, we had to get Eve.
Yes.
Because Adam would have been bored. Yes. That's the truth. So, he was working, but he needed more to be able to function optimally in his purpose. And so from Eve came their children and many, many more until where we are today. So you do need people to function. You do need people to achieve purpose. And I think that you hear a lot of that in my life story.
Yeah. So like you're a firm believer of community.
100%.
So as a firstborn daughter, like what are the things that you've had to do to build your community?
I think intentionally make friends with people.
Okay.
And, we have a friend of ours who's in the studio today, but
shout out to our friend.
Shout out to our friend. Names not mentioned.
Yeah, shout out to our friend.
But if you dig deep into my life a little bit, a lot of my really close friends now, and even my best friend is somebody I met at 9.
Wow.
At secondary school. And so I've had thank God, the ability to just continue to form the gift of friendships over time.
Yeah.
And age really isn't a factor. Like I have a lot of older friends. I have a lot of younger friends.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like the goal is that we are able to share a lot of wisdom in our conversations. You can advise me, I can advise you. We can laugh and joke about things.
Yeah.
We can cry when, we're sad about things. But we can also get to a point where we can make decisions that will help us move forward even much better. You don't want to have somebody in your life that you can't correct or isn't teachable. So yeah, those are some of the core foundations of some of the friendships I have.
Yeah.
And yeah, seeking friendships, being intentional about asking questions. Like one of the things I say a lot is like, stay curious.
Yes.
Life is really like, you don't know what you don't know if you don't ask.
Right.
So ask as many questions as possible. I don't believe in stupid questions. I think every question is a question. You just need to get an answer to it. And to not think that failure is anything to stop you. Failure is only a bid to get to the end of the goal.
Yeah.
At least you tried. That's why it failed. If you didn't try, you wouldn't have known if it was going to succeed or fail, right?
So as a firstborn, did you deal with not wanting to fail and thinking that you had to be perfect in everything that you did?
100%. I think every firstborn did.
Give me a bit of background to that. Like, how did you deal with that? How did you overcome something like that?
I think maybe the first few things that come to mind is, as the firstborn, you're an experimental child.
Right.
And I don't know if that happened for everybody, but for me personally,
as somebody that grew up in a Nigerian household.
In a Nigerian household, like high school, for example, choosing the secondary school I wanted to go to, I needed to do tons of exams.
Really?
I remember I actually started. Typically, most people would leave for high school in primary 5, year 5 of primary school. Okay. But I started doing exams in primary 4.
Oh.
Right. And then in primary 5, did a lot more. I think I went through maybe 20 schools before. Yeah. Before, but I know that my siblings didn't deal with that. I have 2 siblings. They did 1 exam each and got into, and it was also the school I went to that they ended up going to. So I think there's just this fear of not disappointing your parents, most especially, not disappointing everyone who's sort of looking up to you.
Yes.
In the Nigerian household, there's this pressure for you to succeed by force.
Right.
Because you're the attention. You're the person that everybody's attention is on. And I think the ways that I navigated that, honestly, I wouldn't even say I navigated it well in those moments.
Okay.
I don't think I had a choice.
What did you do then that you would do differently now, that when you look back on, you're like, I probably should have taken a different route?
I think I would have taken a stance on not doing so many exams if I were to speak to that particular experience. Yes. I think because I had done well in like maybe 5 or so. Why did I have to do 20? It's not fair to me.
So was it the pressure that your parents were putting on you?
100%. Yeah.
Was it pressure from themselves, or because, okay, as society would expect our daughter to do well because this is the family that
That's
we're from?
That's a good question. I think another thing I've learned over time, even from parents, is that they also didn't have the answers at the time.
Yes,
and so they were also trying to figure things out as time was going on.
Right.
But I think if I were more vocal, that's something I've learned now that is a strength for me. If I were a bit more vocal back then, a bit more vocal back then, I wouldn't have done as many exams. I think that I would have been able to sit my parents down, and they really appreciated that. Interestingly, I had a really close relationship with my father, and he was the one that would really say, okay, let's do this exam. I had the power in that time to say, Daddy, I don't think I need to do 20. I've done 5. Let's choose the top 5 best schools, whatever, right? And then see if I can go through them, and then let's choose what school to go to. But I think I was a little more timid back then.
Okay. Where do you think that timidity came from? Was it cultural expectations, or you just felt like, okay, as the firstborn, because this is what I'm expected to do from my parents, I'll do that?
Yes. I think it's that. I think just the pressure of knowing you don't want to disappoint brings a lot of fear of not disappointing.
So what age were you when you just decided, you know what?
I'm not doing it again.
Yeah, I don't care if I disappoint anybody. I'm just going to live for myself
That's
now.
a good question. I think I still there's a part of me that never wants to disappoint.
Yes.
However, I'm a bit more vocal in certain areas. It just depends on what it was.
What did you do to become vocal, to actually break out of that timidity? Yes.
Like,
how did you find yourself?
that was essentially what I was going to say. So I'm glad that you brought it out of me. I think it had to do with me figuring out who Adeola is first.
Right.
And that came honestly when I started to study the Bible more. Yeah.
Tell me more.
Yeah, I think the Bible is just, it's painting who Jesus was and who Jesus is, who lives within us, right? So a lot of that is, if Jesus could do this, I can do it too.
Well. Right.
And because the Bible talks about the Holy Spirit dwelling within us, it's almost like I have a superpower. How is it that people don't see this, right? And so when the Bible talks about like strength and boldness and courage and, you know, the fruits of the Spirit that dwell within us, there's like, what else is shaking me in the world, right? And so I think that started it off. And honestly, kudos to my parents as well, because there were lots of opportunities even growing up within the church or at school where they would push me to advocate for myself. So I remember running for the social prefect in high school. I didn't win, but that in itself was something taking me outside of my comfort zone because I needed to tell people, vote for me. You know, and this is why you should vote for me. So it made me a lot more confident. I remember when I was much younger, we used to have house fellowships in my house, and my dad would make me teach adults. Right. So he would just say, Adeola, you're teaching house fellowship today. And I'm just like, sir, I'm only 10. You know.
So that training from back then.
That training from when I was much younger.
When you were 10 years old, can you still see it in your life today?
100%.
In what areas?
So firstly, I ended up teaching teenagers much later in my life in church.
In church, okay.
But also, I think I see it a lot in my career now. Being a product manager, and I've done this for about 7+ years now, requires speaking to a lot of teams about something. So if you want to communicate the product vision, so this is what I'm trying to achieve, and you want people to understand that vision, you need to be a lot more vocal.
Right.
So I think that starting out and then talking a lot more and understanding essentially what I want people to understand and having them ask questions that I can give them feedback on has really just helped to grow. So lots of engineers, Nigerian engineers, Portuguese engineers, Kenyan engineers, you know, so you need to adapt yourself to the environments that is required and make sure that you're actually responding to those things in the moment.
So apart from, you know, the trainings that your parents gave you in the church, how do you feel like your role as a firstborn daughter has really equipped you to be a product manager?
Awesome. That's such a good question. I think there's a lot of responsibility that comes,
with being a firstborn daughter.
Yes, with being a firstborn daughter. There's a lot of first to start. Like, so one of the things that I pride myself on, and I've gotten a lot of feedback on in terms of my skills, is I'm an executioner.
Right.
So if you give me something to do, I will you execute it. It's like a joy. And you can tell by my smile. It just gives me a lot of joy to execute stuff. And so people have the ability to trust me with things that they essentially is beyond my age. But because they have seen that I have the skills, I've done it before, I will do it again. And it doesn't even have to be something that I have actually done before. It's just seeing that Adeola has a gift of execution. Give it to her, she'll figure it out.
And I guess this goes back to your parents pushing you to advocate for yourself, pushing you to do things, especially in the church, in school.
Exactly.
So when it comes to this experience that you've had, how would you advise other firstborn daughters that are upcoming that might feel a bit timid and say, oh, well, you know, I don't think I can do this. They don't let me do this at home. So why should I? I'm too scared to actually take a leap of faith and do it. Like, if you were to speak to them as they're their younger selves growing up, what would you say to them to really speak to their spirit?
Awesome question. I think one of the things we need to learn to do as firstborn children in general, firstborn daughters, is the ability to have a relationship with our parents. I think that many of us used to shy from that when we were much younger. I mean, I didn't know how to do it back then, and I didn't have a lot of people to advise me on it. But, you know, growing helped to develop that. And maybe just a backstory before I answer the question. My father was also a firstborn.
Okay.
And I remember that when we were much younger, he used to do this thing with me where he is the firstborn, I'm the firstborn. Adeola, let's take walks and just talk. Or, tell me what's going on in school today. And he would also tell me what was going on at work. And I remember that there were monumental times where he would call me to his office because he ran his own business, which is also a lot of the skills I have came from there as well. Same with my mom. But I remember at the beginning of the year, for some years, he would call me to his office and tell me to pray. Like it would just be me and him in the office. So him telling me to do that just boosted some sort of confidence in me that this man really believes about, like maybe believes in the fact that I'm praying over his business, right? And I think little things like that just help. So words to daughters, word to parents, build a relationship with your parents. Figure out what they like. If it's football, watch football with them. If it's cooking, help them in the kitchen. If it's just going out to parties, you may hate the party. You may not, but right now, my mom really enjoys going to parties with me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we go to some of her parties together. And so I try to do that as much as I can, even when I have some free time, just to see her in her habitat, see her when she's happy. Because it's when you start to draw out things from that you can have some difficult conversations with them about. So if you want to share something with them that it's not going to be an easy thing to ride on, you can pick from some of the other things that are great and then just sort of touch on that.
So in a way, you're now seeing your parents as a person as opposed to just your parents.
Exactly.
Okay, so now my next question to you is, all right, so the older generation, they've raised us, like they've done things in a different way. Like they've done things that a lot of us are unlearning. So if you were to speak to our generation as a firstborn daughter to parents who are raising firstborns, what would you advise them to do differently from what their parents might have done? How would you advise them to approach parenthood in a different way?
That's crazy. So parents our age who are raising children now?
Yes.
Awesome. And thankfully I have friends who are raising children.
Yes.
And I think one of the things I really like that I'm seeing is it's a concept called gentle parenting.
Okay.
A lot of people hate it, but hear me out, right? I don't think we need to. A lot of our parents did like shouting as opposed to communicating. When they needed to do stuff. Like sometimes I joke with my mom and say, I know how to do some things now, not because you shouted at me to do them, but because I observed the way you do them. So if we learn to do that with our children, I think it will be much better. I still think that there are places where you need to shout or you need to beat, like don't spare the rod where required.
Absolutely.
We're Nigerians. We're Africans, you can't do that. However, for example, there's no use beating a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old.
No.
They don't understand what you're saying in the grand scheme of things. So what they need to understand is how something is a bad behavior or a good behavior so that they can tell the differences very early on. Okay, if they then start to repeat the bad behaviors that you've corrected over time, okay, you can spank them. But it's not spanking from the beginning. They don't understand why you're spanking them. They need to understand what the behavior is first before then they can make the changes. So I think a lot of communication. With children, building a relationship with them. Like let them feel safe enough to run to you after school and tell you, Mommy, something happened at school today. It might be something completely stupid. It might be a teacher hit me or my friend said this about her mommy, but the fact that they can confide in you with little things like that means that it will continue to grow the relationship.
So something our generation needs to do is create more of a safe space for their children, the same safe spaces that they might not have had growing up, being intentional about that. So
I mean, if I were to ask you, like, do you have a safe space with your parents? Like, did you feel like you had that when you were
growing up? So I feel like for me, I had that with other family members that I saw as like parental figures as well. But I guess that's because they weren't my parents. So I was able to form that kind of bond with them and that relationship with them. But then like as I grew older, I was more intentional about my relationship with my parents. And I think obviously with age comes more experience. It comes with more confidence. And I think that's when I was able to, I guess, be more firm with how I would speak to my parents and be like, actually, no, I don't want to do this. Or having those, I guess, awkward conversations where as Nigerians, there's a certain way that you would have to speak to your parents if you want them to be able to listen to you. And then there's a way that you're just like, you know what, I need to get my point across now. So forget all of that cultural stuff. It's me and you one-on-one. Might not be taken, lightly all the time, but we're getting our point across. I saw that I was getting my point across and I realized that I just have to be real with it, especially when I'm speaking to my mom. Like, I just have to give her the real. If she shouts, she shouts. But at least I've been able to get my point across.
Yeah, love that.
But then going to my next question, tell me about a moment that you almost gave up, but then you remembered who you were. Like, what kept you grounded during that time?
I probably refer to like my second year in uni. I studied economics at the University of Leeds.
Okay.
Second year was my toughest year.
What made it tough?
There were just a lot of courses, some that I didn't understand. There was a particular course in statistics. We had a professor who was in English. I don't remember where she's from now, but we could barely hear her in class.
Oh.
Like somebody was just speaking in class and we were all dumbfounded. Like, who is this woman teaching?
Yeah.
And that came across also in exams because it was just very hard. I remember actually having 2 failed courses.
Wow.
That I needed to do. Yeah. That I needed to do retries for. And I mean, with the UK's university system, the good thing is if you do a retry and you get a certain percentage, they let you to continue to the third year of uni.
Yeah.
So that was probably my hardest year. There were 2 things that scared me. One, the fact that I had, in quotes, disappointed my parents.
Right.
And I needed to communicate to them that this was my result and this is what they're telling me to do. And I needed to brace myself for it. And then second part is like, how do I never let this happen again?
Right.
So I remember calling my dad after I'd gotten my results and just bawling. Oh, I mean, he's so rest in peace. I was crying over the phone and I explained what it was. And his first question was, why are you crying? That's crazy.
Were you surprised?
I was very surprised.
Okay. What were you expecting his reaction to be?
I think I wanted him to be honest in the fact that he was also disappointed, if that's the case. But he actually wasn't. Like, he was just like, this is like, it's a thing in life. Like, it's okay.
Yes.
If you didn't pass, like, I appreciate that you would even call and tell me. What do we need to do? How are we going to get to a place where you redo these exams and you do well? So he said that first. And then the second thing he said is, I'm going to send you money. Make sure out of this money you buy some ice cream. And that was it for me. Like, I didn't care what else was happening. I'm just like, my daddy knows. My daddy is okay. My daddy said I should buy ice cream.
Yeah.
I'm fine. And I think that just confidence being reinstated within me just made me realize, yeah, I do have a lot of people, good people around me who are rooting for me to do well. Because at the end of the day, no one wants to send their child abroad and not like celebrate them in the ways that they'd want to. So I had friends around me on that day as well that I spoke to about it. And we just sort of navigated how I would have a study plan. It was over the summer. I studied for it. I redid the exam. I passed and then went on to third year. And thankfully in third year, I didn't make the mistakes of taking on too many elective courses.
You were able to learn from your mistakes.
I was able to learn from my mistakes and, pass with a 2-1. So
then
great.
As a firstborn, when did you realize that your parents' approval was really important to you? Because I mean, calling your dad, speaking to him, and he just said, go and buy yourself ice cream. That was like, okay, well, I'm not really bothered about the issues of life anymore.
I think it depends on like, how do I explain what my thought is? There are approvals in different things. With school, they were the ones paying the school fees, so I didn't really have a choice.
Yeah, you definitely needed their approval.
So I needed to. For me, it was important to be honest in my communication. In some other areas, maybe like if I was dating somebody or if I had like approval, there's not really their business in that sense. Like the thought process is that they believe that I have enough sense to make wise decisions around the kinds of friends I'm having or the kinds of activities I'm putting myself in and things like that. So there was always that whether it's God or my parents, where it's like, don't do anything foolish. I think that's what it was as a firstborn. And thankfully, I've been a good girl for the most part, to be very honest. I think growing older, I haven't really... I mean, I'm 30 now. There are many decisions I've made that don't have to do with them anymore. Like right now, it's not approval, it's more information.
Right.
For example, I changed churches after I'd moved back from the UK. I think I stayed in our family church for a while. And I was just like, yeah, I'm not really growing here, so sorry. I'm going somewhere else. And thankfully it came through a lot of prayer. And so maybe to lead to that point, what I was going to say was your parents are observing you as well. If you haven't created a good track record of making good decisions, they will continue to force their decisions down your throat. So I think I had shown enough years of, I know how to do what I'm doing. I do know how to make decisions.
Yes.
Like I can tell you just to get your feedback from it, but ultimately I still have an idea what is best for me. And so, yeah, moving churches, they were very on board with it. Yeah, my mom was like, yeah, please go ahead. And I think a lot of the older people around me knew that it wasn't like it was a fluke.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a random decision. It was something I had prayed about. Again, a lot of my friendships are friendships that my mom has known about since I was much younger.
Yeah.
So most of their parents are her friends now. Like they see each other and they have a relationship. So I'm curious to hear about that from you as well. Do you feel like you need approval on like a lot of things?
I thought I did, or not even I thought I did. Before I used to. I definitely felt like I needed to get approval before I would do something, or like kind of ask, because I guess I felt like I couldn't trust myself, or maybe I just needed the wisdom of the elders before I did anything. But then I realized that if I can't trust myself, then I can't expect to live life based on how other people want me to live life.
100%.
Because I think one of the things that I've challenged myself to do this year is like really get to know who I am. And that comes with leaving the expectations that other people have put on me, leaving the expectations of, oh, I'm going to go and seek wisdom from this person because I think that they know everything. Because I don't want to wake up at 30 and be like, well, I haven't lived life for myself. I've only lived life through the directions of other people. And I don't want to live my life through the directions of other people whose lives that I would never ever want to live a day as that person. So I realized that I had to, basically take that power back for myself. And it's definitely something that I've struggled with, especially as the firstborn, because it's like, okay, I need to set an example for the others that are coming up behind me. And like when you decide to take decisions for yourself, or you decide to do what you want, they'll call you rebellious. They'll call you the black sheep. And for me, like hearing those words, there's a part of me that gets scared, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, like, am I sinning against God? That type of. But then this goes back to what I was saying about knowing God for myself, knowing the word of God for myself, not through the lens of somebody else. I mean, I know that you've spoken about community and how intentional you are, especially like your mum now becoming friends with your friends' parents. As a firstborn, was that difficult for you, or when did you tell yourself, you know what, I'm going to be intentional about my community?
I think I learned it from my parents, actually. Because they were very... I remember when we were much younger, when we would have like Easter holidays and things like that, my mom and her friends would bring all the kids together and all the moms together. And this was when we still had a proper picnic set up at Alausa. We would literally go there every year and have parties. At my house, we used to have Christmas parties, so everyone would come, So I think I got this sense of community from them, from their lens first. Just the importance of having the people that you can share your joys, your sorrows, and everything with still come to celebrate with you when it's monumental times. And so I guess from high school, from primary school, when I started to make friends and like introduce them to my parents as well, it was just essential for them to know who I was hanging out around. And at that time, I mean, because we were much younger, we were less than 18 at this point, getting their feedback on the kinds of friends that you had was very important, And many of the things they said about some of those friends were very correct. Like, don't be friends with this person. In our view, we wouldn't see it yet, but in hindsight, it makes a lot of sense now. So yeah, I think just seeing that and going through that in high school, and I'm also like, my personality wise, I'm extremely extroverted. So I know how to walk into rooms and like make things comfortable, like initiate
conversations. What are some
conversations.
of the ways that you do that?
Look for conversation starters. It could be anything. Sometimes it's in the way I introduce myself. Sometimes it's complimenting something that somebody's wearing, right? It has to be something that sparks a question so that it forms into a conversation, right? So if you ask a question like, oh my God, I really like your hair, or I really like the way you're dressed, is this some African print? It then spurs into, the person might then tell of their love for African prints.
And then you kind of flow
you can then flow and say, oh, what other types of designers have you tried? Oh, do you like African books as well? Again, if you're intentional about wanting to get to know people, don't let it be like a straight line sentence. Have it spark more and more questions or conversations along that line. Yeah.
Talk to me about what it means to be an executioner, like you have been describing. Like, how has that been? And what are things that you intentionally do to ensure that you give excellence in all that you do?
First thing is understanding the requirements for the service. And that could speak to like different things. At church, I am the CEO of the church that I attend, COO rather, of the church that I attend at the moment. I'm a product manager at work. I run an events management business. I'm sort of leading, like co-founding a company.
Yes.
The heart of all of it is we're trying to deliver something. How do you narrate or describe the requirements of the thing you need to deliver? So it could be, there's a client who wants to set up a birthday party. The goal is to have a birthday party, but the service need is to make sure that the people within the party are happy.
Yes.
Right. People want to feel a sense of, I planned a party and everybody has smiles on their faces. There was food going around. The DJ was on point. The vendors came on time. There wasn't like scurrying around or people looking scruffy. Those are the requirements.
Yeah.
So for my events business, for example, every time I have an event, I always ask my clients a question: what is your metric for success for this event? Such that it's at the back of my mind when I'm planning every single thing, and I'm also communicating that with the vendor. I do this with my engineers at work. I do this with the people I work with at church. I do this even at home. Like, if we're trying to do something together, why do we need to do this? Like, you need to understand the why, and then it will help you to make sure that you deliver properly. Yeah.
So this is definitely a legacy that you're building. This is an impact that you're making on people around you, not just in work, not just at home, but the events that you're doing. How would you say people would describe you or what you've taught them? What feedback have you received?
I think a lot of people say I'm a no-nonsense babe.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with that.
That's fair.
I feel like it comes with a firstborn daughter territory.
It does actually. But I think they say I'm accountable, I'm responsible, I know how to get stuff done. I can also be fun, depending on the people who really get to know that side of me. I like to laugh. So there are things that, I can joke about very freely. Again, community. You'd always, if you can't get through to me, you'll find somebody who can get through to me. I'm not in a box of my own. There's always someone who can. I think those sort of things. And that I love God. Yeah, because I want that to show in
everything that you do.
That
I think it shows in everything. Well, not everything you do, but just from what I'm seeing so far, I can see how intentional you are, like with your relationship with God and how you speak about God in your life. And I guess my next question is, as a firstborn daughter, what have you had to unlearn?
That I don't need to shout to get my point across. Oh. Because I saw a lot of that growing up.
Yeah.
This was a lesson, and it was my brother that taught me that. There's a 6-year gap between me and my brother. I remember that there was something I was trying to get him to do, and he didn't do it. So I shouted, like, you haven't done it.
Was it like a Yoruba mom kind of shout?
Yes.
Okay.
And he gave me a very simple response. It rejigged my brain in that moment. And he said, if you're going to approach me like mommy, you won't get the best out of me.
You know, when your siblings say that to you, it can really rewire your brain.
Because another thing we do as firstborn daughters is we don't want to repeat the cycle.
Absolutely.
But there are little glimpses of things we do today that mirror those things, that if we don't take immediate actions and steps to we will end up repeating the same, sort of behavior. So I I think I don't shout as much as I used to. There are things that I still need to shout about. I just don't shout anymore.
Right.
So I try to do a lot more talking. Like I do a lot more introspection. Okay, calm down, Adeola.
Right.
How do you want to communicate this to this person that they understand? So I think those are some of the things I'm learning. Like just learning to meet people where they are. I think I used to assume that everybody was like me.
Right.
And so knows how to execute like me, knows how to be responsible.
I think that's definitely your firstborn problem. Like for me, especially, I don't want to call it a problem, but I have this thing where if I ask you to do something, you know, I noticed that when you ask somebody to do something, they will take their time or they will like pause and then get up and then stride over before they start doing it.
Slow?
I don't like that. So when I ask somebody to do something, I'm very much, let's like, quick, come on, hurry up, like let's go. So in my mind, I'm just like, why are you being slow? Like, why are you not executing this? Why are you not delivering as soon as possible? And I realized that not everybody can understand that. So you have to be patient with people. It's definitely something that I'm still learning. It's a slow process, but I'm learning to be patient with people and learning to understand why people do certain things. So when I ask people questions, it might seem annoying, but I just need to understand why you're functioning like that so that I don't bite you, because
like what you said is so key, because I think we tend to forget that people grow up in different circumstances.
Yes, people, even like you said, like siblings in the same household
will be
different.
Yeah.
Like what your brother said to you about like, if you're going to shout at me, like when we does that, my sister has said the same thing to me. And it's like, I've had to go back and literally like sit down and be like,
no.
I can't be displaying like these kind of behaviors. So when you receive the feedback from your brother, how easily did you adjust, or how quickly did you adjust?
I think it took some time, if I was going to be honest. Because if it's a habit that you're used to, it needs to take a lot of unlearning. So it means that the next time you want to try to correct and it feels like you're about to shout, you have to stop yourself. Like actually put measures in place to not repeat the action.
Yeah.
I don't know that I can put like an actual timeline to it, but I think I've gotten better over time.
Yeah.
There are still things I'm unlearning, but we'll get there. Every day
is a learning.
It's a learning curve. Yeah. It'll get there in time.
So my next question to you is, what's a popular belief about being a firstborn that you completely disagree with, or one that you've probably unlearned over time, apart from like the shouting, but as a firstborn, like, what have you been told that you're just actually?
Not really.
Yeah.
I don't know, actually. Because for the most part, most of them are true.
Okay, give me two that you're like, okay, this one I understand.
I think that there's a part of responsibility that the firstborn plays. I don't think that they need to be the most responsible. I think every single child should be.
Yes.
But if you think about it, there's a modeling that happens when other children come. Right?
Break it down.
So when you have your first child and then you have a second, as a parent, I think it's natural to think I had done some things with this child that worked, so I want to replicate, right? And so as they grow, there's some sort of responsibility, like onus on the firstborn to look out for the secondborn. That just gave me an idea. I think that we need to correct this notion that the firstborns are only looking out for others, but there's no one looking out for them. I think that firstborns have felt alone in that. And not really having, like you mentioned, right? With you said there were other people within the family that weren't necessarily your parents that you had to. And I think I had to do that as well, whether it was with friends or cousins or things like that. But you also don't want your children to go to the wrong set of people.
Absolutely.
Especially for people who just go to friends and the friends don't really. The advice is just based on
basically
vibes.
You're asking a fellow infant
exactly, you know. So just the ability to be able to confide in the parents. Again, just tying back to the point about having a relationship with your children, it's important. You can't put responsibility on a 5-year-old for a 3-year-old. The 5-year-old is growing. They don't know what they're doing. If they're much older, I guess, maybe if it's a 10-year-old and, you know, I've seen some children and some parents do this really well, where like you're traveling with your kids and the firstborn is like 10, the secondborn is like 7. And naturally, I just see the firstborn like put their hands to the back to hold, as they walk through. Those things are beautiful to see. But when they're much younger, they don't know what they
You
are
can't
doing.
put the responsibility on
A
them.
5-year-old too is learning, so that whole firstborn, they don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I just happen to come to the world first, within this family. I'm still learning. So just continuing to speak to them and imbibing some level of confidence, speaking to them about who they are in Christ.
Well, how would you advise firstborn daughters that have been parentified? How would you advise them to let go of that parentification?
You cannot let go. Where is it letting go to? I think it's hard.
Or how can they use that parentification to bring out their strengths and their gifts?
Yeah. I think it's knowing that you are learning a natural nurturing skill. And I don't even mean nurturing as a parent in that sense, because there are many things you can nurture. You can nurture your career, you can nurture a business, you can nurture an idea that grows into something like that's fully good. So I think it's understanding and compartmentalizing, right? So knowing that you're responsible, you're accountable, you're a child of God, all these great things, but knowing how to tie that into your life as a person, and having to bear fruit. Because when we bring children into this world, they are not just for, I guess, the family and the community.
No.
They are people who influence their environments.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? The people who go to school today are children of different families communicating together. So if you're raising a bad egg, it's going to tell.
Yeah.
Because that's that the Bible says evil communication corrupts good manners. Somebody will say something that is wrong because it's something that they're learning at home, or because their parents aren't being watchful or mindful enough. And it's going to corrupt other people, that then becomes eggs that are sown in different families just by the action of that spread. And the devil is very intentional with children in this day and age, especially with social media.
Yes.
Parents need to be careful with TikTok. Even as an adult, there are things I see on TikTok that I cannot watch. Yeah, I have to scroll past because it's just like, how is this even okay? Children dancing provocatively.
But then, I realized that people don't think, they just do. They just follow the crowd.
Hello, you read though. That's why we have Google.
People are lacking in comprehension.
And
like, they don't understand.
Especially in the day and age of AI, you shouldn't be lacking in comprehension. Like, this technology is free for everyone. The average person that you meet in a room has an iPhone. You shouldn't complain about comprehension. Let God be guiding you in training these children, I beg. Let's not raise people that will just become a menace in society. We're complaining about people that were not trained well today. I don't want to use my mouth to say the old thing, but
no, but it's true that, and I've realized that some people that are parents that are not really training their children the way that they should, it's because they just wanted to have children.
Yeah, and they didn't really think about the impact.
Because it was a societal norm. And
that's true.
Like, even as firstborns, like, I know that there's conversation online where a lot of firstborn daughters are saying that, you know what, because I've had to raise my siblings, I don't know if I want kids myself. And it's just like, okay, this is a good level of self-awareness, because you know that you probably hold some trauma that you might not be able to let go of, or you're working towards it. So why bring a child into this world to then continue to pass on that trauma to them? So do you think that more firstborns are becoming more self-aware?
I think so. I think there are a lot of people making more decisions properly, like after a lot of thought.
Yes.
Like, I'm not having kids because my parents need grandchildren. I'm having kids because my husband and I have had a discussion about this, and we believe that we want to have children, and God will help us to train this child in the way they should go. And I think that those sort of honest conversations need to be had a lot more. There are a lot of people even also saying that they don't want to have children, and maybe a lot of parents don't want to hear that. But I think we need to just dig deep into some of those individual choices, understand why. Like, don't be dismissive. There are people who end up changing, some people who will not change. And again, personal choices, have those conversations, but don't be close-minded to it, right? Let people take their time
to decide if that's what if they actually have the capacity,
if they want to really have
to
children.
do it. And if they
children
can actually
it's a whole
different ball game. No, it is. Like I feel like if you want to be a parent, you need to be intentional about that kind of parenting.
100%.
Like you can't just have kids because, that saying that, just have the child, then
you'll figure it out. It's not, I think it's gone from, because in our parents' age, it was, okay, you have the money, you guys are married now, you can take care of the
child. And you have the kind of community and that would help. Yes.
A lot of us either don't live in Nigeria again,
right?
Have moved abroad. So one, they don't have the community in that sense that can help them in supporting in raising these children. So many people are being intentional about making those choices. If it's just two of us and two of us don't work from home, or the husband doesn't work from home, how are we going to do it? What's the reality? Well. Yeah, I'm not going to pay for a nanny in the UK. No. It's very
that
expensive.
Would take all your even nurseries in the UK. Exactly, that would take all your salary, and you'll just be looking at each other.
And I think even beyond finances, even though that's an important part of it, because the cost of things, inflation and things, is just rising everywhere around the world. But then just being intentional about the quality and the character of the person you want to raise is important.
It's really important, and I think that starts from the parents themselves. Like, what is your character like? Have you unlearned
certain things? And even because you don't become perfect overnight, as we're unlearning, we're also making sure that when we have this child and we spot something, we're quick to correct it. There's something I've learned from even just the communities around me. There are families where when they correct their child, back then it was like daddy was the more lenient one, mommy was the one that was always spanking. But no, now it's two of them are agreeing we will both spank you. There's no, daddy will side with me, mommy. No, let's have that agreement as parents that when we say no, you can't go to either parents to change that answer, So if you go to dad will say, what has mom said?
Yes.
As opposed to just changing the answer on the spot. So don't let your children know that they have your momo, but
no, but it's true though. And I think for some parents as well, they want to have kids because they're like, oh, I want to pass down my name, like I want to leave a legacy, that type of thing. But it's like you're choosing this as a form of legacy for the wrong reasons, and this is not even a legacy that you're nurturing yourself. So when we're talking about legacy, I know that sometimes like it can feel like a big or like a heavy word. How would you define legacy?
I think the Bible's definition of legacy is a scripture that says a good father leaves down an inheritance for his children's children. And that inheritance is not land or your Range Rover or your business. That's good. That's great. A good inheritance is the word of God. If you teach your children who Jesus is, it will change their lives. They will become the people they need to become. Because at the end of the day, they need to become. Because at the end of the day, you guys were vessels to bring these children to life. It's not your idea in the grand scheme of things. Like, you were just the vessels to bring them to life. And so if God is truly the author, the creator, the person that knew and formed this child in your womb and caused you to birth it, you don't buy a product and not ask the manufacturer how to use the product. You don't, when you buy a camera, you figure out how to use it. It's the truth. So with a child, God, what do you want me to do with this child? And I think that apart from, children and legacy, it should tie into what we do as human beings as well. Because we also didn't create ourselves. So God, what would you have me do? Engaging thoughts and praying and figuring out this is what I want to be, right? I think that a lot of the things that have happened in my life have just culminated into that. Where if I were to have left myself alone, high school, I was a science student, I would have become a doctor. I would have hated it. Hate, complete hatred. But I think everything I found myself in now is by divine chance and timing. Just God ordering my path and me. Because how does somebody who studied economics become a senior product manager? It's a unique story, but then it just happened the way that it was supposed to. So I think really engaging God in everything we create as people, whether it's a business or an idea or friendships, really, because God is also interested in your friendships, in the way you set up a business, in the way you present yourself, your confidence, how you dress, how you speak to people, all of those things. Engage God about it. It's not, he's as interested in the little details as he is in the big ones.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what kind of legacy do you want your life's work to tell the future generations?
That everything is possible. It's something I tell even just my friends. today, I don't believe in the concept of impossibility.
Yeah.
I believe there's always a way out. There's always a way out. You just probably don't know the person to help you get it done.
I am a firm believer in where there's a will,
there's a way.
There's a way.
100%. If you need to get something done, ask multiple people. Right. Again, it's tying back to this community thing again. Ask questions. You will get it done. It may not be done in the timing for which you want it to be done, but is it possible to be done?
It can. So what advice would you give firstborns that are struggling to build communities?
Reach out, be vocal. Don't keep things to yourself. Be honest. Even in the little communities you have, share what you think the issue is, and why, reaching out is a problem. I think the sense of communities also starts in the sort of areas of communities that we have today, whether that's school or church or your company that you work in. I don't know that you should work in a company and not have. I don't believe that your colleagues cannot become your friends.
I think that that's even where you build the best friendships.
100%.
That is where you find the best friends.
A lot of the friends I have now were colleagues from previous organizations that have just become lifelong friends. Like I became bridesmaids for them.
Wow.
Yeah. Because life is not just work. Your community. Yeah, I am.
No, that is actually so. Okay, so what communities can you give us like a quick shout out to for other women to join? Those that are seeking communities, those that are like, I really want to do this, but I don't know where to start.
Okay. If it's church, I would say join the new church. It's an amazing, and I don't even say this as like, I want you to come to my church. Just try it once, you'll see.
Okay.
If you're a woman in tech, check out her Synergy. So HER Synergy. Check out We Tech. It's also a great platform.
Yeah.
Check out, there's this product dive. If you're interested in like product communities, there are many of them available on Slack. Women in product people, many of them that you can search for. Be intentional about forming communities in your workplace. Like if you're in a department at work, make sure you become, and it doesn't mean that you have to become close friends with them, but you're close enough for them to understand, what this person's strength or weakness or whatever is, and you can rely on each other. Like somebody that can cover for you if you are sick. Yeah. And you need somebody to be able to do a task for you. Just be intentional.
An important thing as well when it comes to building community is you genuinely have to be an authentic person. Don't go there with your bad character because it won't last.
And go out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go out.
Go out. Leave your house.
Yes.
Sometimes you can just go to a cafe, just sit down, take a drink, and you see.
Don't be saying
the
that,
way you find friendships in this Lagos, especially. I'm telling you.
So my last question, because we're going to round it up now, is at the start I asked you, what do you want people to learn from you today? And we've spoken about a series or different things. I'm going to ask you that question again. What would you want people to learn from you today?
I'd really love people to learn that love is a driving force of everything. Every single thing. Community, people, business. If you start from a place of love, you see it flow through everything you do.
Fantastic. And just one more thing before we actually round up. I just want you to speak into the camera to your future self about your legacy and what you hope to leave behind, and just say something to your future self.
Okay. Hello, D. Ade baby, Ade money. I'm proud of you, proud of all that you've been able to accomplish. Proud of your diligence and you sticking to your character and your integrity. Proud of all the friendships that you've developed. Proud of all that you're doing with God at the new church. And so ecstatic to see all that is to come. Praying for a great husband, great children, and that all of these friendships you have continue to blossom. Amen. Pray that you travel more around the world, that you build businesses, build legacies, and that your spirit of excellence flows through every single thing you do.
Amen.
I love you, Ade.
Mwah. Fantastic. And ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of another wonderful episode of Legacy and Labour. I'm your host, Agnes Yoande, and I'm joined by the lovely Adeola Adeyemi. Thank you.
Thank you.